Okay. Hello, everyone. Louis joining us today. Just kidding. Louis does whatever he wants, so who knows what he's doing. He's probably about to climb in this box that I have sitting over here. Anyways, careful, bud. The next chapter is titled Angelo, and it is our second to last chapter. So I'm kind of sad about that, but I'm really just, bro, be careful. Okay. Sorry, guys, but if you want that, you can go down here, but please stop stepping on my computer, dude. I'll just move the computer so he can step where he wants. Okay, he is spoiled. Sorry about that. He was typing on my emails, so. Okay, Angelo. 2 chapters left. I'm sad that the book is ending, but I'm excited to see the end because we have Mr. Vander Klein or whatever saying that the war is going to end soon. We're obviously all hoping the war ends soon, so I'm just going to read. Also, I'm sorry if you've noticed, I've been rubbing at this eye all day today. I basically feel like I have something sharp inside it, but I can't find anything. And so I just keep rubbing it to try to get it out because it's kind of painful. But some glass broke in my kitchen yesterday or the day before, and then I was also sawing, so there was a lot of sawdust, so I don't know what's in my eye, but it's so itchy. So I'm sorry if I just look like a weirdo digging at it, but nothing is working. So now to this chapter. They have head lice again, and scabies as well. Mr. and me clipped their hair short a long time ago. They don't care. The important thing is that Mr. and me is no longer starving. Within 5 weeks, he gained 300 grams. I have no perspective of how much that is in pounds, to be honest. 1 gram equals 1 paper clip. So I guess we could think of 300 paper clips. I'll have to do that conversion. I'm sorry, I don't have those kinds of things memorized. When he was too weak to feed himself, he allowed the girls to give him small pieces of potatoes and turnips, but that came to an end all of a sudden. One day, he clenched his jaws shut. He opened his mouth only to say that he no longer wanted to eat every hour and that he could get along with less food. Lisa put her hand into Freaky too. Then it'll be your fault if we all die, said the puppet sternly. We've decided if that you don't eat, we don't eat. Mr. and me began to eat. They're sitting together in the studio for the first time since the long, ice-cold winter began. Mr. and me is perched on the table with his legs crossed just as he used to sit. I'm going to ask you to do something very unusual. Something important, he says. Walk to the brown cabinet and pull out the secret drawer. I'll do it, says Lisa. Eva's afraid too, she says, and walks slowly to the cabinet. Pulls out the drawer and looks inside. Oh, how pretty, she calls. How pretty. What do you see? asks Eva. Gold satin and blue and green satin and white lace. Lisa runs her fingers over the shiny material. What's it for? Aren't you going to save it until after the war's over? Who says it isn't? says Mr. and me. What? He jumps off the table and sits down next to Eva. He puts his arm around her, but she tries to shake it off. You shouldn't make such mean jokes, she tells him. He holds her close. But it's the truth, he exclaims. I'm not lying to you. You're silly, she repeats with a shrug. Well, what did I tell you? They hear the voice of Mr. Vander Klein calling from the back garden. There's the sound of a key entering the lock, followed by much commotion as a kitchen chair topples over. Mr. Vander Klein storms into the living room. There are rumors everywhere that the Germans have capitulated and that Hitler has committed suicide. He stands behind Mr. and me's chair with his arms up high. Free! We're almost free! Say something, children! They're rumors, replies Eva. Sorry, Louis scared me. They're rumors, replies Eva, and she bites her lips. Rumors are never true. Sometimes they are. Mr. Vander Klein tries to pull Lisa out of her chair. Come, let's dance. I can't dance yet, says Lisa. Then I'll dance myself. He does a strange little jig and then stops suddenly. I have an idea, he says. Do you know what I'll do? I won't wait for the broadcast of Radio Orange at 7:45. I'll run home and try to pick up the French broadcast off the BBC. That starts at 7. Then you better run fast, neighbor, because it begins in 5 minutes, says Mr. Amy. Mr. Vanderkline rushes out of the room. I think he's out of his mind. Eva's sitting with her elbows on the table. Her fists push her cheeks up a bit. Want to bet that he doesn't understand French? I don't dare believe it myself, says Mr. Amy, but we'll just have to wait and see. Wait and see, Lisa echoes and turns around and looks at the clock. It's almost 7. Listen. The clock strikes the hour. They hear sounds in the kitchen. The living room door flies open. Mr. Vanderkline approaches Mr. Amy with outstretched arms. The time has come, he shouts. We're free. The German troops in northern Germany and Denmark and Holland have surrendered. Do you hear me? They've capitulated. It's over, old friend. Do you hear me? He grabs Mr. Amy by the shoulders. We're free. The next time Radio Orange goes on the air, will you listen? Then come tell us if it's really true, Mr. Amy asks. I'd have to leave my house to hear the 7:45 broadcast, Mr. Vanderkline whispers. Don't ask me why. Not yet. But I'll listen at 11:45, my dear friend. It's true. Not true. True. Not true. Lisa murmurs, counting the buttons on her blouse again and again. Not true, she calls. It's not true. But you're missing a button, says Mr. Amy. He smiles. It must have fallen off, and you never replaced it. Count that one, too. True, Lisa shouts. Then it is true. It won't be long until Mr. Vanderkline returns, he sighs. You can stay up and wait for him. That goes without saying. Shall I tell you what I'm going to do with that splendid material in the meantime? I don't care, Eva replies. Then I'll just tell your sister, he says, and moves his chair close to Lisa. There once was an old man who could sing so high that everyone thought he was a woman, Mr. Amy begins. He lived in Italy, and his name was Angelo di Italia. Angelo means angel in our language. I know an angel, Eva whispers. His name is Emmanuel. Mr. Vanderkline knows a great deal about Angelo because he has read about him in big books. He told me all about this man, how he dressed, how high he could sing, and now I'd like to make a large doll for Mr. Vanderkline to thank him for everything he's done. Long ago, when I decided to save this beautiful material, I didn't know exactly what I would do with it. Yes, I wanted to put it on a huge, wonderful show to celebrate our liberation with 30 puppets dressed in the most fantastic clothes, but now I know what I'll do. I'll make one doll for the man who saved my life. Hofland 10 will be the residence of Angelo di Italia, the most beautiful doll in Holland. It will be dressed in green and blue satin. It'll wear boots with silver buckles upon them. Its collar will be made out of white lace, and the clock begins to chime. Another half hour has passed, Eva says and sighs. There's no one in the streets, says Lisa. If the rumors are true, we can buy Scavenol right away. If the rumors really are true, people would be outside right now. It's 11:30, says Mr. Amy. They remain silent. The minutes drag on. The clock begins to strike the hour. Mr. Vanderkline bursts into the room just before the 12th chime fades away. We're free, he shouts. People, we're free. That's the end of the chapter. The next chapter is titled Polar Bears, and it's our last chapter. So I'm trying not to get my hopes up, and I feel like I'm acting like Eva and Lisa because they're pretty apprehensive right now, and they're not really believing Mr. Vanderkline when he keeps telling them that they're free, but I really hope it's the truth. I mean, I don't know why anyone would hope that it isn't the truth, but that's just what I'm really hoping is for the best at this point. I don't know what I was going to say something. Oh, and then I just, it's just bittersweet is maybe a word that I'm looking for. Happy that the war is going to be over, but also just thinking about the help Mr. Vanderkline has been feeding them for 5 weeks now. So this book isn't necessarily like day by day or minute by minute. It skips around a bit, but it doesn't necessarily tell us. But it's been 5 weeks since Mr. Amy has fallen over. But just right before that, when Mr. Vanderkline was saying that he was thinking only 2 more months, the girls were saying it was March, and right before that it was New Year's, and right before that it was November. So it kind of skips around a bit. So for 5 weeks, Mr. Van de Klein has been feeding them and helping take care of them, and Mr. Me has been helping take care of random girls, and the girls have stayed at a lot of people's houses where it was probably dangerous for them to be at these people's houses. So I think maybe the light at the end of the tunnel, or I don't know, just the happiness in all of the sadness is the fact that so many people came together and helped each other out and did so much to like make things not as horrible as they could have been in such a sad time. So that was kind of something. It's cool to see those kinds of things, and it's good to look for the positive in situations where it so easily seems like everything is so negative. So one more chapter, which I'm going to be completely honest, I'm going to stop this video and I'm going to read it right next because I am so curious. You guys can decide if you're going to do one a day and just kind of wait on the edge of your seats, or if you want to binge watch it all. You can do whatever you want, but I'm really happy that I by chance had this book in my backpack because it's been a really interesting one to read with you guys. So I'm happy we've got to do it.